Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Love ya. Caleb here. I'm gonna be uh, going through, making a chart, a tier list about the most American celebrities. Now, I had to narrow it down to celebrities because you can't just if I were to compare these people against someone like um, Martin Luther King, it just wouldn't be fair. So maybe I'll make another one for politicians or just historical kind of human rights figures and things like that. My criteria here, I believe I've written, is people who are very, in my opinion, this is very like just just embodying Americanness, but also to say something specific. I think very focused, creative, outgoing, not so much, but at least somewhat, and famous. There's plenty of people that are much more along these lines, but I wanted to pick people who were considered very famous and might be recognized internationally, or there's a good chance that they would. I think it's hard to know, being an American, how famous people are outside of America. But anyway, let's jump into it. Um, yeah, I guess. Let's see, which way should we go? Let's go this way. So Will Smith, everybody knows Will Smith. Um, Super famous, super charismatic. Uh, Again, I think quite creative. He actually started out in music, then he became an actor in um, TV and film. I'm guessing he does other stuff. Um, yes, obviously extremely outgoing. Um, and I would say in terms of creativity, I wouldn't say he's like the most crazy creative. Um, just because his TV show, his movies, his music weren't anything like whoa, this has never been done before. This is like so out there and crazy and different. Um, so that might knock him down a peg. I do think he's quite focused. Maybe not the most focused as opposed to some other people on this list. Um, I mean, it's hard to know exactly. You just kind of you hear from interviews or from stories and things like this. But I do think he is very focused. Maybe just not the top level. Outgoing, he would get the top level, and obviously super famous. So I think I just put him to be here at the beginning just to start out. But I do think that's appropriate for him. Again, I'm not saying like the best people, the most well liked, the most accomplished. I'm not ranking by this. I'm ranking by how American they are. Along again with being famous, because so it's at least an interesting list. Otherwise, a lot of people, I think a lot of people don't know some Americans that I think are very American. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Let's go to the next. Will Ferrell. Now, very focused. Um, I think he's pretty focused. I don't know if he would say extremely focused. Uh, Creative. I do think he is one of the most creative in that he tries to do a lot of crazy things. I mean, a lot of people don't even know probably that he did a whole comedy movie in Spanish. Didn't get great reviews, but he went for it, and he's always trying. I would hear. I've heard stories of him like he would wear the same outfit, like a cowboy outfit or something, for like months, and people would think he was crazy because it was such a long gag, such a big joke. So I mean, it's rare to find people like that who are willing to put on a joke for months on end. That's pretty crazy, out there, creative, and I guess not that creative, but wild, sort of. Maybe I should have added that to the sort of criteria. People are risk taking, um, and I can throw it in. Yeah, that's fine. Outgoing, super outgoing, and famous, very famous. I'm gonna move him up. I want to say borderline. Maybe I'll move him up later, but right now I'll put him at S or A. Sorry. Then we got Warren Buffett here. He's going to be way less on the famous, and I was actually questioning whether I should include him. But um, one person who's not in any sort of like traditional media. Um, I do think he's extremely focused. Um, he and I guess another criteria I should have added, because to me, American is another thing is like risk taking and sort of willing to go against the grain, and he really does that a lot. And his creativity and his I guess it's not so creative, but just in terms of he doesn't go with the flow of if anybody doesn't know, he's a famous investor. He's one of the wealthiest people in the world, and he has been for the last, I don't know, 30 or so years, 40 years maybe. Um, he's somewhat outgoing, but I think fairly creative and extremely focused. Mm, I'm gonna put him on C, just because. Yeah, I guess not the most creative. I think the biggest thing is his focus and risk taking. Um, but yeah, well, C is okay. So anyway, Oprah. Maybe I'll move these around later when I think about them a little more. Oprah, uh, quite focused, very creative, super outgoing, very famous in America. I don't know how famous she is overseas or in other countries. Um, uh, she does do a little bit of risk taking. Is willing to go against the grain. I think I might put her S tier, honestly. Um, the only question is like I don't know how famous she is outside of America, but I'm gonna put her up at S tier. Then let's see, Muhammad Ali. Um, I think it was to be the top boxer. It's hard to question any of their focus. I think that you need extreme focus to be the best boxer in the world. Um, Creative. To be honest, I don't know that much about pugilism, so I don't know how creative his style was in terms of boxing. But he was obviously super outgoing, very famous. He was really talkative, and he was really creative in his trash talk. So let's see, he hits most things. I think I'll leave him at B just because I don't know. This one's borderline B A. But we'll come back. We'll come back to that one. So next one is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, oh man, focused, creative, willing to go against the grain, risk taker, maybe not so outgoing, but quite outgoing, and super famous. Easy A, maybe S tier. I'm gonna put him at A. I think that's appropriate, just because he's not the most outgoing. But yeah, anyway. And it's doesn't. I mean, a lot of Americans aren't outgoing, but I guess just to me, in terms of the reputation that Americans have, that I hear from Europeans, or like if you were to contrast with most Asian countries or Germany, Americans are generally much more outgoing. So that's why I included it in there. But anyway, let's move on. Michael Jackson, focused. I'm not sure how focused, but he seemed fairly focused. Creative. Maybe not the most creative, but somewhat. Um, Outgoing. Not that outgoing. Obviously, super famous. Oh, people might get mad at me about this, but yeah, I don't think he was a big like risk taker or, as far as I know, willing to go against the grain. Maybe he was willing, but he had. I mean, music industry is kind of hard to work with. I'm gonna put him at D, and people might get mad about that, but I don't think I'm not saying he wasn't super famous, super amazing at what he does, all these things. But also D, just to be on this list at all, is very. It meets a lot of the criteria. I mean, the difference between here and here is almost nothing. I'm really splitting hairs here. So, but anyway, let's move on. Kim Kardashian. People are gonna get really mad about this one because if I put her above Michael Jackson, people are gonna throw their computers. Uh, uh, let me defend this. People kind of think that she's stupid, and I understand that. Just like literally low intelligence and things, but um, I think to kind of dominate the um, pop culture for a decade is not an easy thing to do in America. Um, she's really good at kind of getting something going and keeping it going and keeping expanding, keeping growing. Um, now, I mean, it's kind of hard because how she started was not. I don't know. I feel like it's almost anti-American and sort of just doing something in an easy way. I won't get into that, but anyway, I think she's fairly focused, somewhat creative, not that outgoing, but super famous. And I don't know. I didn't include intelligence on this list, which is maybe insulting, but I do think she actually is very intelligent. I think she takes some risk. I think she does is. I don't know if I'd say going against the grain. I'd say maybe the opposite of that. So, uh, C or D. I'll put her at D, and then we'll see after that. Edward Snowden. This one is another one that I'm really not sure how famous outside of America is. They did make a movie about him, and there was a lot of press about him. But if anybody doesn't know, he worked for, I believe, the NSA, which is National Security Administration, I think, in America, which is kind of similar to CIA or FBI, but they focus mostly on national security, and I think um, a lot of technologically. So anyway, he worked with computers and things, and he could see that despite what the politicians were saying, they were actually spying on, I believe, all Americans, the government, and he exposed that, and he took a risk, and some people think what he did was wrong, but I think if you speak out against lies and justice and wrong, I think that's super risk taking, super going against the grain, um, and he's super intelligent. I think it's hard to gauge the other things because he's kind of a more hidden person. Um, I mean, he does give interviews and stuff. Like, I think he might be living in Russia right now, but he's and focused and outgoing and not so outgoing. Not so. It's hard because I want to put him at S tier because of what he did. So this is maybe I shouldn't have included him on this list because I don't. He's probably not really considered a celebrity. So, but I have to I have to try to stick to my criteria. So I don't know. I'll put him at C. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have been included in this, but he is. So let's just go with it. Let me also say there's probably plenty of people that I didn't really consider or think of much. So this list is probably not going to be amazing. I think it's decent. Let's go on to the next. Donald J. Trump. No, I just said that would make a different list for celebrities, and he sorry, different list with politicians. He technically is a politician, but he was known as sort of a celebrity, sort of a businessman for a long, long time before that, even before I was born. Um, I would hear his name, but I didn't really know what he did. But then he got a TV show called The Apprentice, and that's where he really got famous. and it says you're fired here, and he would have this famous thing where he would just say you're fired to whoever he kicked off the show, which I guess they made copy shows, I think in England, maybe some other places. But anyway, um, let's see. Focused, I think he's extremely focused. Creative, I think fairly creative. Outgoing, obviously extremely outgoing. Risk-taking, willing to go against the grain. You know, they say it's definitely risk running for president, going against the grain. Yeah, people really don't like him. So, listen, I'm not putting on this list in terms of how great of a guy I think he is, or you know, none of these people. The criteria is not good person, right? Not saying he is, not saying he isn't, just saying. So I'm just trying to say American. So you know, it can be very infamous. It can be a very American. Going by the criteria I'm making. I do think maybe I should have included like good person on the criteria, but I've already gone this far, so I can't really add that in. But I'd say he hits nearly all these things. Oh man. I'm gonna put him in S tier. I know people might be mad. I'll think about it a little more. All right. Chris Farley. So this was another one that I'm not quite sure how famous he is. He died a while ago, but he was he's maybe the funniest guy ever. I think there's a lot of comedy that doesn't translate overseas, like Dave Chappelle comedy. I think a lot of people might find him funny outside of America, but a lot wouldn't. Whereas Chris Farley, he can make anybody laugh. He can make old people laugh, young people laugh, smart people laugh, dumb people laugh, whatever, any group. It's focused. I don't know if I'd say focused, but he really was really. No, I would say he was focused because he always try to make people laugh and want to make people laugh. Creative, yeah, he would try to do anything to make people laugh. Outgoing, extremely outgoing, famous. He was extremely famous in America. I don't know how much he is now. Willing to go against the grain, risk taker. Not so much. Between A and B for this, I'll keep him at B. And the last one again is one who is sort of infamous, but extremely famous in America. I don't know how famous he is overseas. I do think he's extremely focused. I think creativity, he might be the most creative out of this whole group. Not sure. Outgoing, quite outgoing. Risk taker, definitely. And willing to go against the grain, certainly. So I'm going to put him up at S. And I think that's a very good, I think that's a great list. Again, it probably not if I were to spend hours and get a bunch of feedback and I would readjust these things and so on and so forth. In those terms, it's not a good list. But I think given the time that I had to do this, decent. Let me know your thoughts. You know, if you hate it, that's totally fine. I understand. Let me know what you agree with, disagree with, what you would add, what you would take out. Yeah, any other list ideas, let me know. Really, thank you very much for watching. This was really fun for me to do, so maybe I'll do more kind of this kind of thing. Love ya, and if you would like and comment and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. But if not, that's totally fine and cool, and you just have a good one. Thank you very much.